Hello and welcome to Superconnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me is my teaching assistant, unpaid intern that he is.
Phil me and Perich.
Oh, don't worry, I'm gonna get you a paid fellowship eventually.
Nice.
I promise. Yes. So, Philip, what's going on in the world today? There's a little movie coming out. I have not seen it yet. You have not seen it yet, I don't think.
No, tomorrow. Probably early tomorrow, yes.
El Ligo du Justica, I believe it's called in the Spanish market.
Ligo de Justice.
Yes, there we go. Yes. I saw someone posted that recently. I said, oh, well, that's good to know. Yeah, so that's coming out.
Tyler saw it last night. He didn't spoil too much for me because we were texting back and forth. But I did see spoilers for one of the post-credit scenes. But he said there are two post-credit scenes.
Oh yeah, I did hear there are two post-credit scenes because you know
I've been spoiled on one already. I saw online like a day or two ago, but
I like post-credit scenes. And contrary to popular belief, Marvel didn't start those. Post-credit scenes have been around for many years. What I'd love to see more of, what I'd really like to see in a more of them, I'd like to see some blooper reels. Remember blooper reels from the 80s?
yes, sometimes on like Blu-rays and stuff they still do them.
Oh yeah, I would love to see. That would be perfect for Guardians of the Galaxy. Is rather than post-credit scenes, they just start doing the blooper reels.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think Guardians, I think 2 might have had some on them. Maybe 1 did too. I can't remember. But yeah, on some of the Blu-rays they do. And I know like those CW shows, like when they put the seasons out on Blu-ray and DVD, they usually put a blooper reels on those.
Yeah. Well, you know, to be fair, I mean everything. A lot of these things will have the blooper reel on the Blu-ray. But what was cool in the 80s is that you would have that the blooper reel as part of the post-credit scenes. So you'd be watching the credits, and that was what first got you back in the day, back in my day, back when I was a youngin'. What got you to sit in the seats and actually have the people's names roll past you, these people who work so hard on the dang film, is they'd say, well, let's put the bloopers up there. Let's put Dom DeLuise and Burt Reynolds, you know, talking about Captain Chaos. Cannonball Run.
So what are you saying? Justice League's a 2-hour blooper reel? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I said that at all. Although, man, I have seen some real malicious headlines out there. I will see this film. I probably am not going to be able to see it for like 3 weeks. But I think it'll start because I actually did see one thing that said it had a bigger opening day than Wonder Woman. So we'll say that bodes well.
I just wonder though if like this group stuff gets bigger openings since there's more characters. You know, you got Batman fans and your Wonder Woman fans. Yeah.
Oh well, certainly. I mean, that goes into it. But you know what? You know, I think that when you go into something like this, yeah, you do get that. But I do think that there's enough interest and curiosity around it. And I do think that Wonder Woman's success fueled that. So I think everyone who saw Wonder Woman and loved Wonder Woman, and that's $1 billion worth of Wonder Woman love out there, they all went to see Justice League first day.
Yeah.
You know, because you knew that if it had that failed, someone would have blamed Wonder Woman for its failure.
Can't do that.
Yeah, no, because Wonder Woman's a great success.
Well, and do you think it was strategically timed that now they're all saying, you know, Affleck's looking for a graceful way to exit that his time as Batman?
Oh, well, you know, interesting enough, counterintuitively, I actually read something today where they said that Affleck plans on being Batman in the future.
Oh, really? Because at least the last day or two, I keep seeing articles. I don't know if this is just rumor or gossip, but you know who they're saying?
Don't trust the rumors. Okay, that's what I'll say.
But no, I've seen a couple different places. Like I say, the last couple days, you know who they're saying the front runner for Batman is? I guess if Affleck leaves,
Val Kilmer.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
He's no Val Kilmer.
Who is?
Yeah. I was about to punch you because you almost said who's Val Kilmer. I was gonna say, how dare you? How dare
He's
you
played.
disrespect Willow?
If no, I mean I've seen his works, Charlie. But if for no
Yeah.
other reason he's played Batman, you don't think I would have known him just from
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes in Life is Short is when Val Kilmer comes in and he's wearing the Batman mask and it says, "It's no, he's the real Batman." He like runs through every other Batman because the person doesn't remember that. Val Kilmer was Batman, the guy who first put the nipples on the armor, first put the nipples on the Batman. You know what? Hey, here's what I'm going to tell you. At that point in comic book history, nipples were being drawn on lots of people. I remember in Fantastic Four versus the X-Men, Rogue in like a thick green sweater being nipply in a Latvian winter. So you know what? I'm willing to say that if nothing else, maybe it was meant to be a little bit of justified eye candy for fans who had been not minding female nipple armor for quite some time.
I was gonna say I think it depends on the character and the circumstance, but there are nipples that sell and there are nipples that don't sell.
Yeah, well, I mean that is probably true. You don't always want to be making a political statement with your Batman films. Who was the villain that Kilmer fought? That's what I'm trying to remember. He fought
Jim Carrey's Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Wait, then who did then? Was it but weren't there were two Clooney Batman, weren't there? Or was there only one?
No,
just one.
One Clooney Batman, yeah, the one after, yeah. There was one Kilmer and one Clooney. That was it.
But Kilmer had a Robin, right? Or no?
Yeah. That's the one where they introduced Chris O'Donnell as Robin, and then he continued into the Clooney one.
So then it became a Chris O'Donnell vehicle.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing nowadays.
Isn't he on one of those NCISs or something?
It's possible. A lot of people are on TV nowadays. You know, that's the thing. Is like now you can be like you can be an actor in a really great series and nobody knows because there's a lot of people who know, but just not everybody because it's a series on one of 800 channels. Content.
I was gonna say, I think back in the day it was like, movies were seen as this like big higher thing, better than TV. But now with all this stuff, especially with like Netflix and stuff,
I don't know if that's necessarily the case so much as I think what has happened is that television has realized you can have a niche audience. Mm-hmm. And you see this a lot in late night, where back in the day, if you were a late night host, it was like Knives Out at First Blood, Yeah. This is why it was so much drama between Leno and Carson and Letterman because everyone wanted that spot, that time slot.
Oh, yeah.
Now you look at like all the 11 o'clock and 11:30 guys, and they're all chummy and they hang out and they go on each other's shows and they cross promote because they realize we don't need to dominate. First off, most of us are going to be watched on DVR because most people can't stay up this late. And really, for the most part, we each get our audience. Mm-hmm. Even though there's 800 channels, there's like a billion more people in the world, and they're all watching TV.
All I have to say is Stephen Colbert has to thank Trump for his ratings boost. Colbert was almost dead in the water until the Trump stuff, and then
I don't know about that, but okay. I'll go. I don't watch any of these shows, so I watch Trevor Noah occasionally.
But I've heard talk of the ratings, and yes.
Although, do you know what I like? Is I really like Jordan Klepper's show. His like far right conspiracy nut thing. So he like takes the Colbert character, Stephen Colbert character, but like amps it up to whereas Colbert and it's like Colbert was supposed to be what's his name? Bill O'Reilly. And Klepper is what's his name? Jones, somebody Jones. I forget his name now. But
Alex Jones?
Yeah, Alex Jones. So it's like the Alex Jones, Pizzagate kind of guy.
Lizard people. Yes.
Yeah, well, not for nothing. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. There may be lizard people ruling our world. I'm not gonna deny it. I'm not gonna argue that point. I'm going to say it sounds ridiculous.
Who cares as long
And
as they don't sexually harass people?
well, you know what? Not for nothing. Maybe there's a statement of that. You know, if we are secretly ruled by an army of clandestine lizard men,
Just treat us well.
okay. You know, I guess what my point is, like, why are lizard men particularly, or lizard people? Because they, you know, maybe lizard women are, maybe they're not a patriarchal society. Maybe they're better than us in the fact that they accept both male and female lizard people into their hierarchy and aren't so worried about all these things. But how are the lizard people worse than any other group of people that are said to rule us secretly, or just the people who actually do rule us publicly? You know, are lizard people particularly worse than Congress?
How? Or Kevin Spacey?
Well, Kevin Spacey doesn't actually rule us. He's actually just an actor.
Yeah,
which is why he can be fired from a job. You know, I mean,
at this point, I think a lot of people would take lizard people over Kevin Spacey or some of these other guys.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, I hope House of Cards comes back, and I hope they do a nice thing about, you know, Kevin Spacey's character getting pushed in front of a train, because it's a very cathartic idea. And then you go into the people who are left and rebuilding his empire. You know, when the House of Cards falls down, what can you do but stack the cards back up? There's your opening line. Okay, Netflix, I gave it to you for free. You do next season House of Cards. It's open up with the death of Kevin Spacey's character, his name was. And you have his wife there who's running for his Senate seat, or maybe just got appointed to something, or something like that. Or she's running for his old Senate seat because he's like president now. And she says, what do you do when the House of Cards falls down? You put it back up. We still got the cards. We still control the deck. We still deal the hand.
Cha-ching.
And that's how you start it. Ka-ching! And that's another $1 billion in the bank. And as far as we know, that lady yet never sexually harassed anyone. Or if they were, maybe it was a lot more consensual.
But speaking of Netflix, I watched the first episode of The Punisher. I know you haven't gotten to it yet, but
no, I haven't. I should, but I haven't. Yes. So, what's the big reveal in that first episode?
It's kind of weird where it starts, because it starts with him like killing off the last of the group, I guess, who were responsible for his family's murder.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and like even the last guy says, he's like, this isn't gonna bring them back, and he's like, I know, and he kills him.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the truth.
I mean, there's a cool scene with him killing some. So one of the guys flees to Mexico, but I guess he must be close to the border, so he like snipes him from like a mile or two away, like across the Mexican border. He's in the I think it said he's in Texas, and he gets big sniper rifle, shoots across the border into Mexico and kills the guy.
Yeah. See, if only Trump had built that wall, that criminal would be alive today.
Exactly.
That's why we must fight this wall. But there we go.
But yeah, so
that's the subtle implications of the punishment.
So I mean, the episode basically starts with him killing off the people who killed his family, and then I forget, it's like 3 months later or 6 months later, it flashes to him working a construction job, and you know, basically just, you know, having nightmares at night of, you know, just having dreams of his family, and then working this construction job during the day. And I'm just like, well, maybe I'll wait. But yeah, there's that, and then I won't spoil it, but something, it looks like looks like there's an event that brings him out of retirement. But
well, yeah, it always is.
Well, here's my big question. I'm like, okay, why would he stay in New York? Because he's working under an assumed name, because, you know, I'm sure you know, the feds and everybody's still looking for Frank
He's
Castle.
Totally David Bannering it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And
sorry,
like,
David Beckham it. David Beckhaming it.
Why stay in New York? That's where you originally lived, right? And like, we even get a scene with like the FBI. I won't go into that, but I think that's in New York too. So I'm like, people are looking for him in New York. He originally lived in New York, and if he wants to, like, wouldn't you want a change of scenery, just to maybe the pain of your family, the memories of your family wouldn't be so harsh if you were in a different environment?
I mean, I can give you two basic arguments. Argument one,
it's a story plot. It's for a story.
Well, it helps the plot. Yeah, it helps the plot. Okay, so 3 arguments. Argument one is it helps the plot. Argument two, well, and actually, let me give you 4 arguments. So argument one is it helps the plot. Argument two is we already rented the space at Silver Cup Studios. We're going to be shooting these things here. This is what we're doing. Argument, but now the other arguments, the story arguments is that it can be said that it is better to hide in plain sight, because if you're where everyone expects you to be, that basically if everyone's thinking you're hiding, they're kind of going to miss you just walking down the street.
But he has like a Clark Kent level disguise, instead of the glasses. You know what he has? A beard.
Hoodie? Oh, a beard. Oh, well, see. But did you see the thing when who plays Superman right now? Is it Caviezel or
Henry Cavill?
Yeah, Henry Cavill. Yeah. No, Caviezel was Jesus.
Are you gonna say about the porn stash where they had the CGI?
No, actually, I was gonna say no. He went around. He actually went around Comic-Con with a pair of glasses on.
Oh, okay.
And nobody recognized him.
I thought you were gonna say everyone was like, "Oh, great Henry Cavill cosplay."
No. But basically, his point was, everyone says this is not a very good disguise. This is about watch. And he puts them on and he just walks around, and no one is like, "Oh yeah." Henry Cavill.
Well, I think that's like the story. I think there was a story a couple years back. I think it was when Breaking Bad was on. Cranston walked around the Comic-Con or something with a Heisenberg mask on. It was like a big rubber mask, and he wore a rubber mask of himself around Comic-Con.
Yeah, well, the actors love the cosplay. Everyone knows that. Because it's fun to just blend in. Because the thing is, when everyone's dressed up like you, it kind of gives you that opportunity. I mean, Hugh Jackman did that a lot, where he'd dress up as Wolverine and go to Comic-Con, and it was like, oh man, that's great cosplay. Yeah, no, isn't it? And he could just be a regular guy. Or when people say, it's good, but let's face it, you look nothing like Hugh Jackman.
I know. I love those stories. It's like, yeah, you don't look like him.
Yeah, but anyway, what were we talking about?
Well,
I have no idea.
The Punisher,
but it's all connected. The Punisher, yes. So he's hiding in plain sight. He's got the beard, and Punisher doesn't have a beard. So that's how they know it's not Punisher. And then as far as, maybe it'll help you grow if you got away from all these things. And the answer is, well, exactly.
Yeah, he does.
He might want to. Yeah. Well, no. Well, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to forget that pain. That pain is still important to him.
Yeah, but but at this point in the episode 1, he's working this construction job, and it's like he's kind of like he's in retirement. He's not killing anybody because he's already killed all the guys who killed his family. Because he even goes. There's a scene where he goes to a like a meeting. It looks like it's in the basement of a church or something. Instead of like an AA meeting, it's like for
for PTSD stuff.
These soldiers, who come home PTSD and stuff, and he's talking to one of his buddies, I guess, who he was over there with, and because the guy's even like he's saying I'm already dead, and his buddy's like, no, Frank Castle's dead. He's like, you're this new guy, and he's like. Because the guy even told him, he's like, I heard about how you killed off, all the people, the guys who killed your family. He's like, I have no problem with that. He's like, if you would ask me for help, I would have helped you do it.
Yeah, well, they are soldiers, and there is a war. Yeah. I mean, but the idea is he doesn't necessarily want to get away from it, and this is where he knows things, and I understand it. I understand it on both the economic level from a let's produce this thing aspect, and I do understand it from the story character. Why this character may not want to leave New York, although for what it's worth, he went to Texas, and and for what it and if he is retired, then that's where he wants to retire to. That's his home, and he wants to be in his home for as long as he can be in his home. He knows, because here's the thing, he's a soldier, and he knows at some point that war is going to come for him. Now, maybe it's going to be the cops who arrest him. Maybe it's going to be a mobster who gets the drop on him. He's killed a lot of people. He's got a lot of enemies. He doesn't want to be on the run. He doesn't want to be in retreat. If he's going to live his life, he's going to live his life where he's going to live his life. And that makes perfect sense for the Punisher. That makes perfect sense for Frank Castle. So no, Phil, you're wrong. It is perfectly correct for Frank Castle to be David Bannering it up in David Bannering it up in is he Frank Kastowitz or something like that.
No, it's Peter Castellini or something.
Oh, Peter Castellini. There we go. Yeah. So because they'll never get Peter.
He did the opposite of David Banner. Instead of
He
changing
did the
the last
opposite.
name, he kind of added something to the last name, but he changed the first name.
See, there we go. Yes. Very cool. Yeah, but I think it makes perfect sense for him to be doing that. And like I said, it helps the story, keeps it all in New York, which is where Marvel comics are based. Actual New York City. Remember, that's the difference between Marvel and DC. Marvel happens in real life New York City, but with laser beams and flying cars. DC happens in Metropolis or Gotham City, where anything is possible. Yeah. Either they have super advanced technology like they do in Metropolis, or everything's stuck in the 1930s, like in the 1970s Detroit, like Gotham,
Yeah, DC blows up fake cities. Marvel blows up real cities.
Because Marvel stories have consequences for like the next 4 months.
Did you read that link to that article I sent you today about the Doctor Strange thing?
Yeah, I mean, you thought that maybe it's going to have something to do with like the continuity errors.
Like we talked about in Secret Empire, it looked like Vegas had been leveled, completely.
Yeah.
And in Scarlet Spider, it's like, some of the buildings have huge holes in them, but
Yeah, well, not for nothing. Well, actually, it's possible that, yes, it is Doctor Strange working his mojo. It's also possible, and this is actually kind of a thing, Las Vegas and most of the desert cities of the U.S. are really bad for bombing. Mm-hmm. One of the things that made Hiroshima and Nagasaki really good targets for the atom bomb was that they were surrounded by mountains. Mm. So they're in very mountainous areas, so that the damage gets contained. First of all, everything is built very close together, and the bombs do more damage. Las Vegas, I mean, it's a flat plain. You can like build out, and as the strip is built out, there's like parts of and you can see this in Reno and Vegas. There's like 6 different boroughs of Las Vegas. Yeah. There's like a part of Vegas that is like not even walkable to.
Yeah, I went there once. Yeah, it's all flat.
Which is helpful because you're too drunk to walk at that point, so you have to call a cab. But casinos always have shuttles running 24/7 to take you from all the casinos.
Vegas does not sleep.
Yep, from the strip club to the casino, then back to the strip club, then back to the casino.
And if you're there on some magical weekend, you might run into Lilith Hellfire.
Hey, I would love to do Vegas with. I've actually never. No, I've been to Vegas. My friend got married in Vegas.
Yeah, my cousin got married.
Yes, so I have been to Vegas. It's the only time I ever went to Vegas. Kneeled at the statue of Siegfried and Roy, and
prayed at the altar of Siegfried and Roy.
They were some of the greatest animal magicians in all of history, and it's so sad that the poor tiger had a bad day that day. And I love that. I think it was Roy who was the one who got mauled, and he said, just take care of the tiger. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about me. The tiger, he's just having a bad day. He's a tiger. I know he's a tiger. One thing you'll say about Siegfried and Roy, they love their tigers. They took very good care of their tigers, but they also always knew they were tigers. And sometimes, tigers have a bad day and you get mauled. Fortunately, he survived, although they wanted to put retiring after that, And then, people go, oh, you're keeping tigers in cages. They're feeding the tigers, They're feeding them. They play with them. It's not like the tigers have a bad life, and they are tigers,
I think the argument is people are like, if you take any animal out of its native habitat, you're abusing it. But
yeah, but these are captive bred tigers. Their native habitat was actually Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. I mean that's the thing. It's like, this is the thing about humanity. You have to understand we do affect the natural order of creatures, and so when you have as an example, white tigers, that's not a thing. That's something that has been bred by captive breeders over the years to have beautiful white tigers. So these are actually domesticated animals, generally speaking. White tigers are a genetic abnormality in the wild, and actually a really dangerous abnormality because they don't blend in anymore. Basically, the prey can see them coming from a mile away, and humans can see them when they're hunting them. It's a very bad adaptation, but it looks cool. And so these are animals that got bred to look cool and be in shows. So, you know, when you talk about human-animal interactions, you know, humans affect the animals. So, so that's my take on Siegfried and Roy. I believe in circuses and animals in the circus because you know what? I think, you know, people say, oh, but, you know, elephants are intelligent creatures. Like, yeah, so maybe they like being in showbiz. Did anyone ever think that maybe elephants like showbiz? You know, as an example, there are people that are clowns, professional clowns. These are clearly sentient human beings, but they say, I have made the choice. I will be a clown because I love show business. I love the circus. And they can say, yeah, but the elephant didn't have a choice in being in the circus. And what I'll say is, well, they kind of do, because if you're not an elephant that can be trained, you get sent off somewhere else. You get sent to a zoo or you get sent back to the wild because you can't kill an elephant because they're kind of endangered species unless you go fully musk. I think that the way people approach the animal acts in circuses is actually really, really mistaken. But then again, not everyone loves the circus as much as I do. I was a kid from the last era of the circus, back when circuses were a real thing, back when it didn't seem that weird that Dick Grayson grew up in a circus, and that there was a circus of crime and a circus that basically all comic books, that the comic book world economy is like 90% circus. I grew up in that era, so you know, it's like for me, the circus has a special thing. I do miss the loss of the animals in the circus because I think the animals enjoyed it. Because I know I would. Honestly, let me put it to you. Honestly, if aliens captured me, honestly, I'd miss my family. Yes, that's true. But like if my whole family went with us, but they had me doing the dancing, I'd happily dance in the ring every night. Put on the show, and then I'd go back to our little cage where, you know, we had steak and potatoes waiting for us, whatever our food was. You know, that'd be good. I don't mind that. If you think about it, that's what I do right now, except I'm doing it, you know, for an office building. I go every day, and then I come back to our little cage where, you know, maybe if we're lucky, we got steak and potatoes.
Jeez. But, oh no, I just don't ask me what made this pop into my head, but, did you, I know we were talking about it on the messenger, some of us, but have you seen episode 1 and 2 of the Secret History of Comics?
No, not yet.
Oh, episode 2 was alright. It was like the history of like Wonder Woman, her creator and stuff. But episode 1 was all about Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. That era, you would love that first episode.
Are they mean to Stan? Do they cast him as the Edison to Kirby's Tesla?
At times it seems like they kind of were like, you know, they both get their times of, you know, Stan was great, Jack was great, but then it was like, oh, they clashed heads here, and they, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, as long as they, you know, here's what, because what I always say
I mean, I think at the end of the hour, it comes down to they're like, you know, you wouldn't have the Marvel you have now without Stan or Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to say that, you know.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, what I'll always say is like, Stan for being the better businessman. Mm-hmm. But and what I will always is I think that Stan, in classic Spider-Man fashion, realized he had this great power to be an amazing businessman and huckster. And he could have used that just for self-promotion. But he promoted everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, he's the one who called him Jack the King Kirby.
That's what he said. That's what he even says, yeah.
You know, yeah, you know, he's the guy who said this guy is the best artist in comics. You know, where they really have a falling out is Kirby trying to say, well, I came up with everything. And not for nothing, Kirby said that to everybody. Who did he create? Who did he create? Joe Simon he created Captain America with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a great interview of Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. I think it was in the 1992 Captain America came out. And you know, and even there, Jack Kirby's trying to say he created Captain America. And Joe Simon is being real polite while he's dealing with Jack. And he's like, well, actually, Jack, I actually designed the character, and I'm the guy who actually wrote the stories. And so to me, that interview with Jack kind of always defines him to me as this guy who more credit hog than people think he was. And to the point where he kind of really alienated people, which kind of, honestly, for what I'll tell you, maybe speaks to a lot of great genius artists out there, is that they wind up alienating people because they don't really want to share the credit, you know?
Mm-hmm. But no, I just looked. It's on. If you want to see it, it's on AMC's website, AMC.com.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on demand on AMC too. I still have cable, until they turn it off.
Yeah, I forget about it half the time. But yeah, I mean, if it's not on demand for some reason, yeah, it's on their website.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love a comic book guy. You see, but that's the kind of thing that I love to binge. But what's weird for me is I tend to like binges. I don't have to actively binge, but it's just something that the network has decided to binge for me, like Twilight Zone marathons. And they did, and they've done like histories of comic book marathons before on various other channels, So I always, when those are on, I just sit there and I watch those for 8 hours because I love it. What I'd love to binge right now, though, is
Punisher.
No, actually, The Power of Myth with Bill Moyers, where he interviews. How am I blanking on his name? The guy who wrote the Seven Faces of God and The Hero's Journey. Joseph Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth, as hosted by Bill Moyers. That is like the most influential story in my history. I love that. So speaking of things I like to binge, that night, Claudius, that old classic PBS, man. That was where binging started, man. Because of those who don't remember, at telethon time, they would just run their best series all in a row. So you would get every episode of Doctor Who in a row, and you'd get every episode of Bill Moyers in a row, and every episode of Claudius. Oh, I love Claudius in a row. And that was where binging came from. Little bit of history for you kids out there. Go ahead, Phil.
I was gonna change the subject. There is one, but I mean, I don't know how long we're gonna go, but there is something I want to get to before we end tonight. So you saw, I guess Marvel is changing editor-in-chiefs now.
Yeah, Alex Alonso's out, right?
Yeah.
Alex. Yeah, Alex is the editor-in-chief.
Or Axel. Yeah.
Oh, Axel.
Same
I'm
letters.
sorry,
Same letters, different order. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, but Axel Alonso is out. And did they say who's replacing him?
Who is it?
Is it Nick Spencer or no?
No, it's CB. Was it CB? So, how do you say that?
Bukowski or?
It is. It's the first two initials are CB, and then it's like Cebulski, Cebulski.
Okay, I'm not familiar with his work, but okay.
Yeah, I think he's been with Marvel.
He might be good. I don't know if he'll be another Jim Shooter. So let's say he may be a Jim Shooter. He may not be a Jim Shooter, and you can take that how your personal relationship with Jim Shooter is. For me, he'll always be my first.
Oh my. So my question is it just a big coincidence, or is something going on over there? Because, I mean, Bendis is out, and now Axel Alonso's leaving, so it's like, is something going on over there?
Well, no. You know what it is? I'm going to tell you exactly what it is that much like, as I was talking about earlier, because it is all connected, and this is Superconnectivity, the fragmentation of the late night market has allowed for people to make livings as late night hosts on numerous other channels, and nobody has to be number one. I mean, it's always great when you're the number one, but you know that when you're number 2 through 5, you still have a job at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And right now, so with Bendis going over to DC, I was like, yeah, okay, man, that's cool. You know, you go over to DC, have fun. There is such a friendliness. And not for nothing, I'm sure, especially on the Marvel to DC side now, because Marvel is, here's what I'll say. I think that Marvel now is where DC was when Marvel was at its lowest point. Because, when DC was because when Marvel was at its lowest point, DC was part of the Warner Brothers conglomerate. Which is funny because, it's funny that Warner's didn't buy DC. DC actually bought Warner's because actually DC didn't buy Warner's. Kenny Parking bought Warner Brothers. Kenny Parking, which is a very big parking structure facility out here on the East Coast. They may even be all the way over in Pennsylvania. They might even get out to Pittsburgh. Look for it. It's got the green sign with the K. Kenny Parking. That's who bought DC. Because the guys who owned Kenny, because they made billions of dollars off of parking structures. They said, well, let's expand to other things. And, of course, what every billionaire wants to expand into is showbiz. Don't ask me why they all want to be in it, Because, honestly, it's a gentlemanly pursuit. If you have money, you want to... No, there's no money in show business. What are you talking about?
Well, the highest echelons, there's money in it.
But there's a lot of money to be lost in it, yes. Sometimes you make a lot of money, but you might as well invest in gambling, not invest in casinos. Casinos it's a guaranteed profit. Unless your name is Donald Trump, in which case, the man can lose money owning a casino. That tells you how good of a businessman he is. Owns a casino and loses money. That tells you everything you ever need to know about Donald Trump. Anyway, although actually, for what it's worth, in defense of Donald Trump, a lot of casinos have gone bankrupt over the years, including classic casinos like the Sands and the Horseshoe and all these other great, and the Palms and great Vegas casinos.
Sorry, everyone, he must be drunk tonight. He's defending Trump.
I'll defend Trump if there's not a reason to accuse him. We're not talking about sexual harassment right now. No. Anyway, but what my point was, I'm sure was Kenny Parking bought DC and eventually bought Warner Brothers as they brought the Time Warner franchise, because this is back when print media was actually a thing. But this is something to understand, that it's like it's weird how we think about things nowadays, because so they buy Detective Comics, and then with that they then move into the Time. I think they buy Time and Newsweek, and then they buy Warner Brothers as they move up the echelons into the things. And Warner Brothers was the smallest fish, but they had this big money market behind them. So DC had the ability to be out there. They were very much in the public thing. They had their deals with Hanna-Barbera, which were like the Marvel Netflix deals now, And so DC was just turning in money hand over fist. I think now DC's in a little more. And what I'll actually say about the Marvel DC relationship now is I think it's much more about critical acclaim than it is about money. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was all about money. Now it's really, DC isn't losing money, but it's about who's cooler. Is Marvel cool or is DC cool? And DC keeps on having to be, it has to be Beast Boy in Teen Titans Go. Or possibly Robin. None of them get to be Cyborg, Raven, or Starfire, who are the three coolest characters in Teen Titans Go. I think we can all agree. Beast Boy and Robin are the least cool.
Now I have this picture in my head of Marvel and DC in the same room together, and DC going, "I am not short. I am the average height of a company my age."
Exactly. That is exactly what DC is. It's like, our movies aren't bad. And for what it's worth, their movies aren't particularly bad. They're just
we're industry standard.
Exactly. That is exactly DC's statement. We're industry standard. We are what people expect us to be. No, we didn't. And I heard his name today, and I forgot it again. Watiki? Watiki is his last name. The director of Thor. Yeah, who is so awesome. And they didn't ask him why Korg was blue. I gotta reach out to Brian Cronin about that. Brian will get to the bottom of this. Mark my words. Why is Korg blue? Is it just to troll people about people complaining about Valkyrie? But for what it's worth, but that is DC's thing, is that DC plays it real straight, whereas Disney, I don't even want to say Disney Marvel, Disney plays it real on the outside. Mm-hmm. Because Disney knows that the way you make your money isn't necessarily doing what people expect. It's by doing something new. Whether it's adding music to cartoons, or, making a story about toys that are sentient, which is the creepiest idea in the world, yet somehow you make it kid-friendly. Fun fact, the Toy Story was originally a very creepy script. If you ever actually see any of the original scripts of Toy Story, it is like 3000, which is the dark, gritty, Pretty Woman story. Like the original script for Pretty Woman, it's like the most horrific, exploitive about a rich guy who hires a coke-addled hooker to be his date, and promises to pay her $3,000. And at the end of the movie, he throws the $3,000 at her feet and drives away in his Porsche. That's the original ending to Pretty Woman. It's but then a guy like Gary Marshall comes in with his little let's tweak it a bit, and he makes a freaking blockbuster.
Well, yeah, because it's like isn't it like a romantic comedy? It's like the original script. I don't know. Are you going to get many women in there? Or are you going to get
no one's going to want to see that original.
I was going to say, are you going to get many people you're going to get anybody who doesn't want to see a depressing movie?
But for what it's worth, they do a great parody of that, and a parody of that entire idea in BoJack Horseman, where they have the Secretariat story, which is supposed to be this dark, gritty thing. And then Gary Marshall, who plays the character that he's playing in that, he's like a gecko or something. I forget what he was. He might have been a turtle, might have been a gecko. But he comes in and he's just totally Gary Marshalling it up. And then and they're like, oh no, we're gonna fix it. We're gonna do it all CG. We're gonna, and he's just like, let's make it happy. Let's make them let's have the family have love and growth, and let's have Secretariat wear a sweater and be with kids, and it's like, oh, this is just pablum. This is just, and then of course the very end of it, it's like when it actually comes out, BoJack said that was actually a really good movie. It's like, of course, I know what I'm doing. I'm not making a stupid little film. I'm making a better film because I know what a good film is, and this is the thing. But it's innovation, and a guy like Gary Marshall, he's going to take something that is crazy, like a guy hires a hooker for the weekend, and he makes it into the greatest romantic comedy or the biggest grossing romantic comedy of the age. He says, how about ladies playing baseball during World War II because all the men are dying in war? Let's make a film about that. That'll be fun. We'll get Tom Hanks to be the surly drunk manager. We need a surly drunk. Let's get Tom Hanks. When I think surly drunk, I think Thomas Hanks. Yeah.
So basically, the business model is have Gary Marshall come in and say, "There's no crying in Hollywood."
Yeah, something like that. Or that there's only crying when it's what the story requires. Because he's going to massage the story to make it something people want to watch. He's an artist who believes in making art that people want to see.
All right, I just have one question. What does this have to do with the Marvel situation?
Well, now Marvel is in this spot where They have all the critical acclaim. They have all the Gary Marshalls. Okay, and DC desperately wants a Gary Marshall. They desperately want someone that because they're making money. They're not losing money on any of these things. None of like the worst Superman never really lost money. I think maybe Superman 4 actually lost money.
Still would admit 3's the worst, will you?
I'm not saying I'm not saying number 4 was bad. I'm just saying I don't think it lost money.
Peter David said it was bad.
Well, Peter David says it was bad, but Peter David says that,
Well, Peter David called you a dumbass, so what does he know?
Peter David doesn't believe that Cyttorak is that Cyclops' powers are bound to a genetic connection to Cyttorak. I call him Cyttorak.
You say Cyttorak.
I say Cyttorak. But anyway, but it's fine. No, and there's all the look. Here's what I'm going to actually tell you. None of the Christopher Reeve Supermans were that good.
At Charlie Esser on Twitter.
Yeah, they weren't. They weren't.
If
2 was bad.
If the angry mob with torches and pitchforks, so I would like to storm Charlie Esser's castle, led by Tyler Patrick.
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying they were. I liked them. I didn't say I didn't like them. I'm just saying that if you want to say, was this an objectively good story? You would say, well, no, it was a Superman story. It was. Well,
I mean,
it was a kid's film.
They were the product of their time too. I mean, the first one came out in '78. I mean, that
I know. I was there, Phil.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I was there. I was around in 1978.
I was around in '78. I was born in '78, but I was around. But
okay, I was 4 years old. I have active memories of the original Superman. Okay.
But I mean, you know, I mean, don't judge it by today's standards. Judge it. This was the era of what red brown Captain Americas and
and those were not particularly good films either. Doesn't mean I don't love them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I don't love them with all my heart, and it doesn't mean I don't think they were fantastic in their own right. But I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, you know, the first Superman or the first 2 Supermen were just, you know, were artistic triumphs. No, they were pulpy Hollywood films meant to get your butts in the seat, watch Christopher Reeves be incredibly handsome, and you know, get the girl with Margot Kidder, who was super 70s hot, you know. Hot in the 70s was a very feminist time.
Smoking them cigarettes.
You know, yeah. I tell you, man. Well, it informed me a lot in my life. Fresh orange juice. But anyway, let me just say that if you want to say objectively, were they good films? No, they weren't good. They weren't necessarily good films. But none of them lost money. And what I'll say is, objectively the worst. It had the worst special effects. It had the most insane plot. You know, and had, you know, kind of the weirdest villain concept of the genetically. And honestly, had they stuck with the actual Bizarro Superman, that might have been a little more interesting, because I think Bizarro always adds a nice level to the character because he doesn't want to be evil. He's just dumb.
Yeah, but one, that's more special effects, and then two, and they're like, instead, why don't you put a pretty boy up there?
Yeah, well, not for nothing. It's actually the exact same amount of special effects to put Dolph Lundgren, to make Dolph Lundgren fly as whoever played Bizarro. Did Dolph Lundgren play the original Bizarro in that? I don't know.
Oh,
you can find footage of the original Bizarro.
Oh wait, what?
Okay, so you can, because they actually shot scenes where it was Bizarro they created. Dolph Lundgren's nuclear Superman was actually supposed to be Bizarro. So they actually shot scenes with Bizarro, but they were too comical, and they realized this doesn't work. Now, why you just completely recast it into, you know, Golden Boy Superman? I don't know. Rather than just trying to make Bizarro less stupid, but you know, they really played it up, you know, with the cartoon version of Lenny. They sort of made it a cartoon Lenny. Yeah, but look up Superman 4 Bizarro footage on YouTube. You'll find it. And he flew backwards, and he had this little putt putt sound as he flew backwards. It was bad. It was really awful. But they did some tests of it, and they decided, no, we have to make him a little more of a threat, because Bizarro wasn't threatening the way they had created him. So yeah, so Nuclear Superman was supposed to be Bizarro. And for fun fact, we always say these great ideas that come later actually start out in these bad films. That was where the idea that Bizarro Superman is a clone of Superman, rather than being from just Bizarro World. Bizarro World's a strange idea.
What, a cube planet?
Cube planet. Yes, because cubes are easy to draw. Yeah. Bizarro's a rough character, though I've always been impressed by their ability to recreate Bizarro year after year. But yes, but that was the thing. So none of them were particularly good, but they didn't lose money, is my point. Because I think maybe Superman 4 didn't lose money because they cut the budget so much. But it was out there, it had advertising, it got released. It was no Corman's Fantastic Four, which would have made money if they had released it. I stand by that. Corman's Fantastic Four would have made its money back. I think any of those Corman films. I think the Captain America would have made its money back had it really been released. You know, placeholders. You know, they put them in there as placeholders. They did it with the short release with Captain America, and then they did it with no release for freaking Fantastic Four. And actually, it's been said that Corman really thought these were being released. He thought he was making a real film. And one of the things people said about the Fantastic Four film in one of the documentaries on it about the Fantastic Four film. Here, I don't know if Corman knew, but I'll tell you this: he produced posters for it and materials, and Corman didn't waste money. That was his thing. He never wasted money, and so you're not going to tell me that Corman went through the trouble to produce promotional material for a film he knew was never going to be released. He knew, if anything else, he probably thought, well, maybe they'll release it on DVD or VHS back in the day. That's what we used to call DVDs back then, kids. Was actually what we used to call Blu-rays back then, kids, because you don't even know what DVDs.
I'm looking at stuff for Superman 4. The budget was they only had 17 million.
Yeah, I know. But they did shoot some Bizarro scenes. I've seen them. They're on YouTube.
I think they said all the other movies they had 55 million or so to spend, and this they had 17 million. So
well, they were big budget films because this was Superman. This is the marquee character. That's the thing is Superman can make money, which is sort of why I think it's so frustrating for DC, because it makes money and it always makes money. But as I've always said, I think that's part of its problem, is that because it always makes money, they have problems investing in the script. Because they know that Superman's going to make its money back. Because it's Superman. I don't think I think the Superboys did fairly well in syndication. Remember Superboy? We all remember Superboy.
Yeah,
we love Superboy. And of course Smallville certainly went for 272 seasons. May still be on the air as far as I know. I'm not sure. Superman sells. There's a reason he is the most iconic superhero of all time. There's a reason why he is the superhero, because he is the first superhero. And everything. I hate they took away his underwear. Or his overwear. Sorry.
Oh, but you know what else I was going to tell you, because you brought up briefly about Thor Ragnarok. You said you read this week's Thor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm thinking the death of Thor isn't maybe, I don't know if it's so much about the death of a Thor. Is it? I don't know if maybe, well, especially after Thor Ragnarok, if we're getting Asgard's going to be in shambles after this, and maybe we're going to get whoever Thor's going to be more on Earth or in other realms other than Asgard coming up.
No, actually what's going to happen is Thor is going to fight Mangog, and then Mangog's going to realize that Thor isn't a god, and Mangog's brain is going to explode.
Because basically he fights Jane, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like, well, I can't fight you. You're not really a Thor. You're just, you know.
You're a girl.
Well, yeah, kind of exactly that. And she's gonna wail on him with her hammer. And Mangai's gonna be like, I can't fight you. You know, you aren't a god. Because you see that with that scene with Malekith, where Malekith is like, hey, I'm not a god. I ain't calling myself a god. I'm just a freaking elf. Gonna go make some cookies in a tree. Don't mind me. Gonna cobble up some toys. You know, and so yeah, so they're gonna say, I'm not a god. But then he's going to face Jane Foster, and Jane Foster, of course, is the living personification of apotheosis, which is, of course, is the Greek messianic idea, as opposed to the Christian messianic idea, which is anti-apotheosis, but which leads to the path of apotheosis in Christian mythos. Apotheosis means the transformation from human to God. That's your vocabulary word for today. Overuse it, please. I know I do.
Did you see? I think I sent you the picture from the comic the other day. An Amazing Spider-Man. Peter, did you see Peter Parker's new job?
No, I actually didn't. I mean, I saw you sent something, but I didn't get that. He's working for Alchemax, right?
Peter Parker? Something? No, he's working for the Bugle again, not as a photographer, but as the science editor.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a gig.
Got some people under him. Yeah.
Well, he knows science. He can do science, and he has a history. And he's a doctor now. He's got his finally got his thank you, Otto. Like, did he have his bachelor's degree before this? Did he actually complete college?
I don't know. He was in and out of college a couple times. I don't know if he ever had a degree before Otto.
Yeah, honestly, it was, thank gosh for Otto that he actually was able to get that guy put into a doctoral program. Get those life experience credits put to good use.
Oh, it was so funny.
Where would Peter be without Otto?
Speaking of Otto, Thursday. Did you see this week's Young Sheldon? Probably not.
No, although I did start taping it. So yes. So what? Yes,
this week was good. It shows how Sheldon first got into comics and stuff, and at the end of the episode, he's talking about why are so many supervillains doctors? Doctor Doom, Doctor Octopus, and he's naming off all these villainous doctors. I'm sitting there watching it with Danielle, and I don't know. I made a comment about one of the other doctors, and I'm like, Charlie's favorite is Doctor Octopus, and she's like, why? I'm like, because Charlie has issues.
Yeah, I got lots of issues.
Oh, but Peter gets a new job in Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man. Remember last issue, the FBI came into his building?
Sure, I'll go along with that.
Well,
yes.
Oh, yeah. Because remember last issue, you flipped to the last issue because it was the big interview with him and Jonah. Yes. But so Peter's trying to get out of his building and not reveal his identity because they don't know he's Spider-Man. But then he eventually gets out to the street. He gets on a Spider-Man suit and he's running from the law. But he gets surrounded kind of by some of these agents. And guess who comes to his rescue, screeching in their car?
Well, that would be Mockingbird, I guess.
No. I'm thinking new father figure, J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, there we go.
Since he knows the secret now.
Yeah. Oh, there you go, man.
Because after Peter jumps in the car and he rescues him, he even makes a comment about, oh, we're going to have a talk about how you've been conning me all these years, taking pictures of yourself.
Yeah. How does he not remember that? There was a whole episode of She-Hulk. Okay, but yes.
Wait, what about Jameson? What about him complaining about Peter taking pictures?
Well, yeah,
of himself?
After he came out and he was having this whole thing.
That's that whole
when
thing.
John Jameson was dating She-Hulk for a while.
That was the whole Mephisto thing, where the One More Day thing, where Mephisto wiped the whole world's memories and everything was.
Yeah, but once he reveals himself to you, you're supposed to remember everything. Remember that aspect of it, Phil?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, when you reveal your, well, I don't know if the spell kind of broke down because eventually was shown.
Yeah, we have had a whole other universe.
After the whole, everyone complained about the Mephisto thing. That like a year or two later, they showed it was Doctor Strange did a spell, and it was like nobody was supposed to be able to learn his identity, but yeah, if he unmasked, it would all come flooding back. But then after a while, like I think his girlfriend at the time, Peter's girlfriend at the time, figured it out, and he said to Doctor Strange, he's like, "What the hell?" He's like, "You said this thanks to the spell, no one was supposed to learn my identity." And Doctor Strange is like, kind of broke down after a while. He's like, "And you haven't been too careful anyways." So I don't know if that whole thing broke down after a while. So now it's just back to normal.
So there you go. Yeah, just back to normal. We'll call it that. Good, close enough for government work. But yeah, so I mean that's cool that J. Jonah is making his. Is that a Flying Graysons poster in the background?
Yeah, it's just it's kind of just like a thing I printed off the internet.
Oh, okay, that's cool, man. Flying Graysons, except it should be red and gold, and green, because that's the colors the Flying Graysons wore.
Depending what version of the story, there's some versions that they're wearing like that blue Nightwing suit, and I guess that's where he got the inspiration for it. But
okay, sure, yeah, I don't know. I like it better with that. I think it makes more sense that he'd be wearing his family's costume.
Yes,
I think that actually makes suddenly Robin actually makes sense if that's just what the Flying Graysons wore.
All right, all right. Speaking of Robins, all right, I'm with people. The universe works in strange ways. It's worked like this before. Did you watch Gotham this week?
No.
Of course not, because Solomon Grundy wasn't in it. I swear, without even knowing, he misses every episode that doesn't have Solomon Grundy in it.
Yeah, because Solomon Grundy is the best thing to happen to this series.
But without even knowing, the universe works it out where you just miss the episodes without Grundy in them.
Yeah, probably. So what's there? I don't know, man. I love me some Grundy. Although if I miss Graysons, I will be sad about that because I like the Graysons. I love the Graysons and their whole circus family, and though I love the fact that Dick's mom was a clown, was part of the clown family, and that the clowns and the acrobats hate each other. But although I don't like it, yeah. Okay, no, go ahead. I was gonna.
Basically this week it was just Bruce and Alfred fighting, and Bruce basically telling Alfred, stop trying to be my father, your whole thing.
Did he fire him again?
You're my employee, Don't tell me what.
Did he do? Did he say that? Did he say you're my employee?
No, but that was kind. I mean, not in so many words, but that was kind of the subtext. Yeah. It was like, you're not my father, you're my employee. Don't tell me how to live my life. Was basically that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, not for nothing, the Waynes are bad at parenting. It is no wonder.
They can't.
I think they were bad at parenting before this. You know what? If me and my wife ever die, we actually have a family set up, and we even have backups. We are all set that we know our children will be raised in a healthy and in loving environment. Okay? We made plans. We made agreements. We talked to people. We thought ahead. The Waynes are like, let's let the butler raise him. Says, well, should we make the butler the executor of the fortune? Nah, then the butler will kill us. Nah, let's have the butler just be the butler. We'll have the kid be in charge. And the butler can do whatever he can. But, the kid can fire him because a kid should be able to fire his parents. That's because, good old Thomas Wayne. He's a real gold sculpture,
Maybe there's a clause in the will. The minute he gets as tall as the butler or taller, he chooses his own destiny. You must be this high to inherit your fortune.
Do you know who would make a great Alfred in a future movie?
Who?
Sean Connery. If you could talk him back into, I was thinking that today. So if you could talk him back into acting, Sean Connery would make an amazing Alfred.
Alfred Pennyworth.
Yeah,
I could see that.
He'd make a great Jarvis too.
Oh.
If you ever wanted to have an old man Jarvis come in, like, oh man, like, ever do like
old man Jarvis?
If you ever do like How many Iron Mans have we had 4 already, or is it
What movies? 3.
Yeah. So if they ever do Iron Man 4, they gotta bring in Old Man Jarvis and have him be Sean Connery. They'll have to explain why he suddenly has a Scottish accent, because he had a British accent in the other ones. Although actually, Sean Connery can probably do a British accent if you paid him.
Yeah.
You know, he could probably be a little more grizzled. But yeah, he would make a great. That would kill DC.
Oh, but
if Sean Connery came back to acting to play Old Man Jarvis after DC ran him out for making him play Alan Quartermain. We brought Sean Connery back. That is the power of the mouse. They wheeled up a truck full of money to my house, and I said, "Yes, I will happily play this." Who is this, Jarvis? Yes, I will play this character for you. I will be old Tony Stark's old wise mentor. And he visits in a nursing home. He gets a cane across the face. Shut up, Robert Downey Jr. I mean Tony Stark.
No, he only hits women. All right, we're going long, but one last thing. Did you watch The Orville this week?
Oh, yes. Oh, you know what I loved about this week's episode?
The
Spoilers. Clown? No, not the clown. Was
Giant spider.
Tristan loved it. Tristan, this is very much like it.
I could see this.
Yeah, Tristan was loving it.
Yeah, I could see this being his favorite episode, probably, right?
But what I loved about it was a complete reversal of the Star Trek trope of the holodeck going glitching.
Yes.
In this one, the holodeck is working perfectly.
This was all on purpose. Yes.
Yeah, that's the point. Is that what was glitching was the humans. The humans were screwing things up. The computer is just doing its job, man. Don't be always saying, "Oh, we went through a plasma storm and that's why the holodeck's going crazy." It's like, no, you crazy, stupid humans keep on programming me poorly. I'm just doing what you said, man. I'm just a computer. And I loved it. I loved Isaac as the villain in it. That was great.
Oh, yeah, with the red eyes. I love the doctor was all creepy and evil.
Oh, she was fantastic, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that was good. And killing the nurse. I was so glad the nurse didn't die. And I was almost like,
but even just her, after the, it's all simulated, but locking her in the cell, and she's just like, "You don't know what's coming." I mean, she acting there, that was great.
It's a well-acted show. I mean, honestly, The Orville is a really good show.
And what's the name of the chief? I forget that. What's the security chief's name? I forget her character name.
Oh, I forget. I don't know. I don't know anyone's name.
But one of the best parts.
I know Mockingbird and Peter from Family Guy.
Yeah,
those are the only 2 actors I know in that.
I should keep a list because we talk about it every week. But the chief of security, who played her father?
The greatest Star Trek actor in history, Robert Picardo.
Played our emergency medical hologram on Voyager. Yes.
Okay. And I was thinking that today. He says, because they were mentioning, CBR said they'll like characters too evil for Marvel to ever put in a movie, and they put Mephisto in there. I was like, yeah, right. But I was thinking, who would make a fantastic Mephisto?
Picardo. Oh, I'd pay
because it'd be so unassuming as it. It would be very much like Jeff Goldblum, Grandmaster. Very much not what you think, because the Grandmaster is always very reserved and perfection. And Goldblum played, no, I'm the Grandmaster, so I'm always thinking 20 paces ahead. So I'm cool because none of you come to my level. And that's how he played Grandmaster. It's like, oh, isn't it cute? You think you actually have power in this situation. That's lovely. I love it.
But do you remember that Voyager episode where the doctor's program, I don't know if he was I think he was adding stuff to his program, and he got all funky and was basically going all Jekyll and Hyde, and he kidnapped Kess and stuff.
Yes.
So, Picardo can do dark.
No, but you know what actually, see, that wasn't the reason why I thought he would be great as Mephisto. Have you ever seen 976 Evil? Where he actually plays Mephisto, well, the devil.
I don't think I've heard of it, but no, I don't.
Yeah, 976. It's a very bad 80s horror film, as they were, but it has, I believe it had the lady who, the short fat lady from the Poltergeist series was in it, and it's a fun, Freddy Krueger ripoff, 976 Evil. Look it up. But Robert Picardo plays basically the devil, but he's like this very working class devil. He's running 976 Evil. It's like, we're just doing this thing. He's got his big hairpiece on, which I love whenever Robert Picardo wears his hairpiece because it is such a great look for him. Because Robert, I remember reading Robert. Now he does all his work bald, but he used to do like equal amounts hairpiece and non-hairpiece. He said, I got a really good hairpiece for my headshots with the hair, and then the headshots without. And then everyone says, yeah, but we like you better without. So I would love to see Robert Picardo play Mephisto.
Well, I bet he's more recognizable now, especially after Voyager and some of his other stuff. Bald is.
But what I loved about that scene with her parents was we find out that basically on her planet she's special. She's not like the rest of us in that sense that she's a little bit slow, and it's just this idea that I love this idea that that basically it makes you realize those ideas. But not for nothing, it actually has some Trek roots. If you actually watch the animated series of Star Trek the animated series, which is fantastic no matter what anyone will tell you, there was an episode where they go back to the city at the edge of forever. And Spock goes back to his past. And you actually see Spock growing up as this half-breed Vulcan. And all the other Vulcans just teasing him unmerciful about how dumb he is, how weak he is, how slow he is. Because he's a human,
What is this, Inhumans?
Yeah, well, yeah, basically. And it was great. And then Spock shows him how to do a neck pinch and all this kind of stuff. It's a great episode of Spock going back in time and dealing with his own stuff. But it makes you realize that on planets like that, it makes you realize that there's probably a lot of alien races that when we encounter them, they're like the ones they sent away. Although.
Well, I was going to say, on that ship, besides Isaac and maybe the Doctor, is there anyone on that ship who's not slow?
Well, I don't know if any of them are actually slow.
They seem, sometimes a lot of them seem clueless.
Well, clueless, yes. But then again, Sheldon Cooper is clueless. Doesn't mean he's dumb. It just means he's clueless.
Yeah.
If nothing else, that is one statement you could probably make about these future societies, that probably people are all very clueless because they all spend their time in front of screens. Very few of them have those emotional intelligences, which is why guys like Captain Kirk, who clearly aren't the smartest guys on the ship, wind up in charge because their emotional intelligence is far higher than their intellectual intelligence.
And sleeping with all your women.
Well, hey, if you're going to have a high emotional intelligence, you might as well use it to
pick up the
make
chicks.
The world happy. Make people happy. Okay, I don't want to get into the whole thing about the difference between a pervert and a lech, but there are guys. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like there's not a woman that slept with Captain Kirk or William Riker who regretted it later, as far as we know. And actually, that's not true because there was actually a whole episode of a Star Trek where a woman got really mad at Captain Kirk after he dumped her, and then she switched bodies with him, and that was a weird episode. It was third season. You don't remember that episode where the woman
Picard switching bodies with somebody?
No, not Picard. Kirk. Kirk, there's a woman. She's a super genius woman, but she dated Kirk.
Okay,
and Kirk
I think I kind of remember that. I'm a lot better with. I've watched Next Generation and Voyager a lot more than the original, but yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah. See, when I was a kid, there was only the original, and it was on all the time, and there were only so many episodes to watch, so you pretty much watched them all. So but it was a very sexist episode, a very let's be afraid of feminists episode. It was the '60s, and it was run by Gene Roddenberry, who was a lech. like myself, you know. Won't say he's a perv, but I will say he's a lech. There's a difference. Okay. Anything else to talk about tonight, Phil?
No, I think
we'll do it.
I was going to say I think we went a little long tonight, but that's all right because this is your Charlie Esser Phil for the week because he won't be joining us for Justice League this week on Capes and Lunatics. It's going to be just I think it's going to be just me and Lilith Hellfire.
That's going to
God help me, but I mean as much as I love podcasting with all of you, I think sometimes it is nice to get like. There's been an episode or two where it's just been you and me. I think.
Yeah, it's nice to do the one-on-one.
It's nice for the audiences. I think to get to know us. So this will be a little centric episode this week.
I can't wait. I love a little centric episode. Listen to that woman talk all day.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially about.
Okay, so Phil, how can they find you?
You can find me online. Especially if you want to do any interviews or stuff with the Capes and Lunatics, nightwingpdp at gmail.com. On Twitter, I am at nightwingpdp. Or if you want to contact Capes and Lunatics, capesandlunatics at gmail.com. And the voicemail for any of our shows, 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And one last thing, we get a lot of good content this week. Including, keep your eyes peeled, we had episode 1 of Don't Get Defensive with Charlie Esser himself and Moz Manzoor.
Yes,
it was great.
That was a good episode. Yeah.
I love the whole Seinfeld thing you're telling Moz about our conversation about how the Defenders are the modern day Seinfeld. And you're like, no, Moz, no, you're wrong. Daredevil is George. No, I will hear none of it.
Daredevil is George. Daredevil is George because Daredevil is the one who's all wound up. He's all too much in his head. He's too much in his head.
I just love it. Moz is like, are you sure? He's like, you're like, no, there could be no debate. Daredevil is George.
No, because I know his point. Because they're thinking, well, Jessica Jones is kind of a screw up. The way George is like, yes, but Elaine was a screw up too. Also had a drinking problem.
Yes.
But George was the guy who was the self-sabotager.
Yes.
And that's what Daredevil is. He's a self-sabotager. And, one other thing I wanted to mention, because this is the highlight of my week, is David Walker liked a comment I made on his Facebook about Clubber Lang. Because I basically pitched him my whole idea that, that Clubber Lang afterwards becomes a pitchman and, does all this thing. And David Walker liked that. I was like, yes! David Walker thought my idea was good. To heck with you, Peter David. David Walker likes my ideas.
he's not exaggerating, people. I mean, even on your, didn't you make a comment on Facebook? You're like, this is a good day. Yeah, David Walker, like, hit the button.
I didn't say who it was. I said, a writer I respect liked a comment I made on a post he made. And this made my day awesome. And then I said, and I know how weird that is. Because I do understand that it's weird that this writer that I barely know, but I respect, that this guy, through the magic of social media, liked something I said. It's like, yes.
Hey, I mean, you know him a little. We talked to him for an hour one week.
Oh yeah, I know. But I'm not vain enough to think he actually remembers that day in any conceivable way. Honestly, let me give you an example. I actually interviewed with someone, talked to them. She actually made a statement, I really like you. I'm going to find a place for you in our organization. I don't have something right now, but we're going to look for you. And I met her again at a job fair thing because we were actually being colleagues at that one because we both worked for the same company, but I wanted to move into a more permanent position at her facility. And she was like, oh, hi, yeah, it's good to meet you. And I said, well, actually, we've met before. And he's like, we have? And it's like, yeah, I interviewed with you. You said that you really liked me and you wanted to find something good for me. And obviously, you clearly haven't thought about me since then. Because I send her stuff about my wife, and my wife has gotten interviews at her facility. So, she recognized me after that. But it was just like, I don't think David Walker has thought about me. Or when he liked my comment, I don't think he said, oh, yeah, that was that weird guy I interviewed with who said I was like the greatest writer ever. That's weird. So I don't think he thought that. But he did like my comment, and he liked, like I said, I think that Clubber Lang is a great character who never got enough story in the Rocky series. And honestly, I want to see the Clubber Lang movie. I want to see the movie that do Rocky 3, but totally from Clubber Lang's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and here's the thing: you end it after that first fight, then it ends triumphantly. It's like Rocky 2, you know, like yeah, I beat him, yay, I'm the best.
hey, keep those lines of communication open. I'll call it now. David F. Walker is going to be Marvel's new Bendis.
I would wager. I am not. Here's what I'm going to say.
Well, success wise, I think we'll agree with his ratings more than we do Bendis.
No, but I think that, you know, I think that with guys like Bendis leaving, I think that, although, you know, Axel Alonso leaving, you know, you're losing a bit of your Hispanic content, but I think that guys like David Walker are going to move up, you know. Mm-hmm. I think that diversity of voices, and not for nothing, I think that's where DC is making its mistake. They're paying through the nose for a bunch of white guys at Marvel after they've already told all their best stories, and then Marvel's going to say, okay, all you guys of different voices and different characters, you guys tell some stories now.
Yeah.
And all the white guys are out of the way, and it's like, yeah, let's tell the story. And then it's like they're going to be on top again.
I mean, they could use more diversity at DC, but I think it's basically, I think they're colorblind. It's just who's going to bring in the most readers and the most cash.
Oh yeah. Because they actually have exclusive deals with some writers of color as well. So.
But more diversity in Marvel. Did you see Bendis? He didn't say who, but because he said that's Marvel's announcement to make. But the new writer of Jessica Jones is going to be a woman. Yeah,
I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't surprise me. It actually kind of it's one of those things like, really? You mean it hasn't been yet? It's like, no, actually it's always been Bendis.
I was gonna say on a solo Jessica Jones book, I think it's always been Bendis.
Yeah. So good. So cool. I mean, I think that's fine, you know. I don't know who it's gonna be. There are actually a lot of really great writers. Crazy fan theory. What if Marvel poaches from DC? What if it's Gail Simone?
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
The most famous woman in comics.
Yes.
Coming to Jessica Jones. Oh, yes. And you know, Jessica Jones 2 is coming out soon.
Oh, yes.
And you tie that into the announcement of Gail Simone, and the queen of comic books, writing Jessica Jones as the premier character.
That gets our seal of approval, and I bet you any money that would get Lilith Hellfire seal of approval.
Oh yeah. Well, yes. You know, I mean, I don't know if Gail Simone's gonna do that. I don't know. You know, I don't know if they'd be slumming. I don't know. I don't know from their perspective.
I'm thinking it's a known name, because if it was someone like a newcomer, don't you think they wouldn't worry about making the big announcements? I'm thinking it's a name. It's somebody, you know, when they announce it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I know that name.
Oh yeah. Well, then, hey man, I mean, Gail Simone writing Jessica Jones. I might actually pick up a Jessica Jones book after that.
You heard of Marvel?
I'd rather she wrote Patsy Walker. Patsy Walker's my character there. She really wants to be your friend. You know, it's.
If you want to be Charlie Esser's friend, where can they be your friend, Charlie?
They can write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our moms and pops once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet all of nothing. Because I haven't live tweeted in a while.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I want to live tweet. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is coming. I will live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I will do that because that's fun. I can watch it and live tweet it at the same time. I get to rewatch it. That's the thing. It's fun to rewatch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after I live tweet it. Other shows, not so much. Oh God.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch more Punisher after this. Hey, isn't it cool that we have something Marvel to watch on a Friday night that's enjoyable?
I hope so.
Hey, it can't be worse than what we've had the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I could always go rewatch Ragnarok at the theater too. Okay, but if you'd like to follow me on any of these things, do so at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle. for quality. Thank you for connecting with us once again, ladies and gentlemen. Please connect with us again. Superconnectivity. Good night. There we go.
I mean, seriously, how can Punisher be worse than Inhumans? I saw the first episode. It's already much better.
It's
not a week on. Yeah,
you know,
and this isn't a week on Bucked property, so.
Yeah, I know. What went wrong with Inhumans? Like what? I mean, is it just Buck, or was it just something?
Well,
I don't know.
Look at the track record: Iron Fist, Inhumans. She won that, everyone.